Good morning. My name is Noma Tamsanqamdlazi. I create content on mental wellness and personal development. I hope that wherever you are doing well, you are thriving, and you're just ready to take on the full burden of life. You're just ready to go full force into the kind of person that you're meant to be. Is Life Simplified, a podcast where we discuss all the inspirational and relevant information for your personal development. We dive deeper on the core values of humanity to see through how much possible is it for us to live a more deliberate, a more intentional kind of life, so that we could just get the most out of existence, out of life itself, such that we're just truly present with all our pursuits, to just live a more meaningful kind of life in which we're just truly present and we just get the most out of the entire life experience itself. If you find this content interesting, please do make sure that you subscribe, you join our community, because really I'm at a position where I want to deliver the best conversations on meaning, life, purpose, simplicity, so that we could just grow together as a community. So please do make sure that you hit the notification bell, you like, you comment, and just engage in all our conversations. Please and thank you. So this is part 2 of mastering the unspoken language. In this video, we derive lessons from the 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene, one of the most powerful books indeed. Robert Greene himself, one of the greatest philosophers of our time, and I think all of us should get themselves a copy of this book so that we could understand how to protect and defend ourselves against power itself. So before we get on to these lessons, this is lesson 10, this is lesson 11 until 20, right? Before we get on to those lessons, the first thing I want to share with you a few quotes from Robert Greene himself. He says that the better you are at dealing with power, the better friend, lover, husband, wife, and person you can become. This is the best favor you could ever do yourself, to learn how to protect and defend or execute on power, right? This is how you learn how to be able to just get the most out of life itself, because you need to be able to protect and defend yourself against power. So just if you understand how power works, the better person you can ever become, it is through understanding how power works and how to manage and leverage it, so that you could just be fully present in everything that you do, right? Then he also says that half of mastery of power comes from what you do not do, what you do not allow yourself to get dragged into. This is truly powerful, right? Because half of everything that you don't do, you don't allow yourself to get dragged into. Therefore, that's how you could always keep the initiative on your side, to just be able to preserve your energy for truly the most important things in life, instead of getting dragged in quite a lot of things, trying to prove how much powerful or how much superior you are to other people. But instead you try to understand that half of mastery of power comes from what you do not do, what you do not allow yourself to get dragged into. So that is just such a powerful way of articulating these things, right? And the other thing, he says that emotions cloud reason, and if you cannot see the situation clearly, you cannot prepare and respond to it, right, with any degree of control, right? So it is very important for us to be highly conscious of our emotions, to understand where we're truly intentional of us being fully understanding our emotions. It is very important for us to understand how to leverage our emotions, how to dictate our emotions, because if you do everything and you always try to react in quite a lot of things, you will struggle very deeply. You will waste your energy trying to win big battles you will never ever win, simply because you fail to be able to understand your emotions and work out on your emotions better, right? This is a truly exciting book. It has truly powerful lessons, powerful laws to govern your life in a more meaningful and directed manner. So without any waste of time, let's just get onto it. The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. I hope you do enjoy these lessons. Law number 11 says that learn to keep people dependent on you, right? Make people depend on you for their happiness and prosperity, and you have nothing to fear, right? It is very important for you to understand that how you make people feel in your presence is very important. From now on, you should be truly intentional about making people feel better about themselves. You flatter the person, you appreciate, you acknowledge that person, right? Because now, if you can make people more dependent on you in one way or another, then they will always need your presence. They will always trust you. You will now gain their loyalty simply because you know how to make them feel better. You know how to make them better about themselves, and because simply you flatter them, you appreciate them, you acknowledge who they are, you want to know more, you just have this genuine interest from them, right? He also says that power involves a relationship between people. You will always need others as allies, pawns, or even as weak masters who serve you as your front, right? So it is very important for you to understand that you need other people. You need your other people for your life to be truly glamorous, to have this spicy type of thing. You need people. That's the core essence of this, right? He also says that do not imagine that your master's dependence on you will make him love you, right? In fact, he may resent and fear you. It is better to be feared than loved, right? So it is very important for you to understand that as much as by you acknowledge and you flatter your superior or you do whatever, they might at some point fear or resent you in one way or another. And at the end of the day, it is very important for you to understand that it is better to be feared than to be loved as a person. It is truly important for you to understand that. So it's just what it is, that you should just learn to keep people more dependent on you by giving them a free space to be fully themselves, because you are more genuinely interested in them, to be more specific, and you don't really always want to floor yourself in their presence, but you let themselves floor themselves in your presence to be fully themselves. You give them happiness, you give them exactly what they need. Law number 12 says that use selective honesty and generosity to disarm your victim, right? So it is very important for you to be truly intentional about really using selective honesty. I've once heard somewhere that really yes, the truth is there, right? And we have to be honest about everything, but there are situations in life where we don't necessarily have to be honest about such things, simply because they might hurt the other person. So it is very important in your pursuit to understanding honesty that you should be truly intentional about really understanding that just be selective in your honesty. You don't necessarily have to be saying or just being too honest unnecessarily, because you'll find yourself in a position where you are deeply struggling or the other person is struggling emotionally simply because of your honesty, right? So he says that one sincere and honest move will cover dozens of dishonest ones, right? So it's very important for you to be truly intentional about being honest, because it could just make it this powerful shift at the end of the day, right? An act of kindness, generosity, or honesty is often the most powerful form of distraction, because it disarms other people's suspicions. This is very powerful, right? So it is very important at the end of the day for you to understand that you should be more intentional about selective honesty. Know when it is the right time for you to be honest about certain things. You don't necessarily have to be bragging or flaunting about honesty where it's just unnecessary and it might hurt the other person. So in a reversal, he says that when you have a history of deceit behind you, no amount of honesty, generosity, or kindness will fool people. So it is very important for us to be more intentional about investing in our characters, to understand that you can portray the right image of how other people perceive you, right? Because there's quite a lot of things you won't be able to achieve simply because you failed to simply to be by being honest, right? You struggled with being honesty, and therefore you struggled with honesty, and therefore people can't really trust you going further, right, in quite a lot of things. So you should be truly intentional about just being honest, so that you just don't mess up your reputation, and you could actually get things done and preserve your initiative and preserve your power as a person, right? Law number 13 says that when asking for help, appeal to people's self-interest, never to their mercy or gratitude, right? So it is very important for you to understand that when you ask for help, you should be truly intentional about figuring out how the other person may benefit from whatever. Appeal to their interest in one way or another, so that at the end of the day you could win in whatever it is that you want. This is a strategy, and a very powerful strategy indeed, because the person will all of us are just full of so much we're just full of this level of selfishness in any pursuit, in anything that we do. We want to see how we could benefit. We all have self-interest at the end of the day, right? So when you appeal to someone else's help, you need their help, you should be trying to figure out, just be more strategic about figuring out what it is that the other person may benefit, right? While trying to make sure that at the end of the day, you do acquire whatever it is that you are asking for help with, right? But never to their mercy or to their gratitude. You shouldn't be saying that this person should be doing this to thank you, right? Or just mercy, to just be feeling pity for you, and therefore that's how they should be helping you. No, never to such things. Just appeal to their personal interest, to their self-interest, to how it is that they could benefit in whatever it is that you need them to help you with, right? So instead, uncover something in your request or in your alliance with him that will benefit him, and emphasize it out of all proportion, right? Just be more intentional about really figuring out what your opponent what your opponent's self-interest would be in that particular situation, so that you could know how to win at the end of the day, and finally have that help at the end of the day, right? Every person you deal with is like another culture, an alien land with a past that has nothing to do with yours. Yet you can bypass the differences between you and him by appealing to his self-interest, right? So I spoke about this, that all of us have just self-interest, and it is just part of the human nature. We're just full of quite a lot of things. This is funayo in one way or another, right? It could be flutter, it could be anything. There's quite a lot of these things, right? So you just have to figure out what it is that would work in that strategy, in whatever pursuit that you want to figure out or you need help with, right? So he says that even the most powerful person is locked inside needs of his own. And if you make no appeal to his self-interest, he merely sees you as desperate, or at best a waste of time, right? So to avoid all this, to avoid to be in a space where someone has to be feeling pity for you, or seeing that as if you're just a waste of time, you should be truly intentional about figuring out their self-interest. That is such a powerful strategy for you to just get everything you want in anything, even if it's an entrepreneurship or whatever it is. Just be truly intentional about figuring out what the other person may be interested in, right? So he says that self-interest is the lever that will move people. Once you make them see how you can in some way meet their needs or advance their cause, their resistance to your requests for help will magically fall away. This is a very powerful strategy. We need to be truly intentional and more strategic on just appealing to people's interest in one way or another, so that we could just gain that ability to be helped, to be assisted, because at the end of the day, all of us are just trapped in our own needs in one way or another. So if you could just master that strategy, the ability to, when you ask someone, you just try to figure out what it is that they may be interested in, so that they could benefit in whatever it is that you need help with as a person. Law number 14 says that pose as a friend, work as a spy, right? So it is very important for you to be truly intentional about working as a spy in any given relationship, right? So that you could be able to figure out and track the animal in that person, to know that person at a deeper level, as much as it's possible for you to actually know that person, so that you could just figure out their intentions indirectly, so that you, at the end of the day, you could be able to predict the future, whether it's an ally you'd want to live with for longer, or it's just an acquaintance for that particular moment, right? So he says that ask indirect questions to get people to reveal their weaknesses and intentions, right? So if you're not strategic enough in this pursuit, you will just fail dismally. You will struggle tremendously, right? So you should just be truly intentional about asking indirect questions, so that people could just be able to reveal their true selves, so that you know what it is that you're dealing with from that person, right? So in the realm of power, your goal is a degree of control of future events, right? So therefore, in any given relationship, whether it could be a business, it's a friendship, it's whatever, it is very important for you to have this degree or level of control for future events, right? Because if you want to consider and see people at a face value only, you're not ready to go deeper and work as a spy in that particular relationship, then you might have quite a lot of struggles or surprises in the future going forward. So it is very important for all of us to be truly intentional about digging deeper and finding the animal in whoever it is that you're dealing with, so that you could just be able to have this degree of control over future events themselves, right? So he says that by suppressing your own personality, you can make them reveal things, right? You don't necessarily have this need to always portray this strong aura, this strong persona, but it is very important for you that at times you can just suppress your personality, so that the other person has the opportunity as well, so that they could just reveal things, they reveal themselves as well at the end of the day, right? So by tempting people into certain acts, you can learn about their loyalty, their honesty, and so on. All these things demand so much strategy, and they are just strategy themselves. So it is very important for you to understand that how you relate to other people, it is very important. It's very important for you to be more intentional about just working as a spy, so that you could just figure out and know the other person at a deeper level, right? So this is just work, just trying to figure out the other person, whether they are relevant for what it is. They are just relevant for your long-term effect in life. They might so that you avoid quite a lot of opportunities for surprises, or just different events that may surprise you at the end of the day. You want to know the person at a deeper level. That's why you want to be more intentional about working as a spy in that kind of relationship. So law number 15 says that crush your enemy totally, right? So it is very important for you to be more strategic and more intentional with how you deal with your enemies, because your enemies can be very problematic, especially if you can't really deal with them, right? They can always show up and just keep giving you a hard time, especially if you can't deal with them, right? So he says that the enemy will recover and will seek revenge. Crush him, not only in body but in spirit. Just be truly intentional on how you navigate your entire enemies type of situation in life, because they might give you a hard time, and you need to be able to understand how to protect yourself as a person. So Robert Greene, in his own terms, he says that crush him totally, right? So he says that it is not, of course, a question of murder. It is a question of banishment, sufficiently weakened and then exiled from your court forever. Your enemies are rendered harmless, insinuating themselves and hurting you, right? So it is very important for you to understand that how you deal with your enemies can have this long-term effect, and you should be truly intentional on how you deal with your enemies. They might be problematic, they might give you a hard time going forward, so it is very important for you to be more intentional with how you deal with them, right? All of us have a choice whether we want to crush that person totally, but it just means at the end of the day they just never really have access to you going forward, right? Because you're trying to protect yourself against whatever from them. That's just what it is, just the ability to teach other people to move away from your court, to move away from your space, simply because they are problematic. They are just don't know how to follow the rules, they don't know how to treat you better, therefore they don't really deserve your presence, they don't really deserve to be in your space. So it's just that intent, that's what it means, right? So he says, let them be agents of their own destruction. The result will be the same and you won't feel half as bad. So this means that you don't necessarily have to kill them or just do whatever, right, in dealing with your enemies, but you should just let them at some point to be the agents of their own destruction. This will be the same and the result will be the same, and you won't feel half as bad. So you won't feel this constant guilt simply because you did something terribly wrong to someone who has wronged you. So but instead you let them to just be the agents of their own destruction, right? So it is truly important for you to understand how to deal and just navigate the entire enemies type of situation. No one doesn't really have enemies, and that's a fact. We should be able we should be able to teach ourselves how to deal with people who seem not to like us in one way or another, so that we don't lose initiative at the end of the day. So this is a truly powerful book, and anyone who does want to get to a position where they can preserve and just keep the initiative on their side, this is for that person who just wants to be better and just be formless like water in life and just move through different areas of their lives without struggling, because they're just truly intentional. They are just lightened and just heightened in understanding quite a lot of different areas to navigate about life itself. Law number 16 says that use absence to increase respect and honor. This is a truly powerful and a more controversial law, I think, because not anyone could think of this, but it is a fact, right? That something that is just scarce, and it's a point, there's just more value in scarcity, right? And that's just a fact of nature, right? And he says that create value through scarcity, right? He says that what becomes scarce suddenly seems to deserve our respect and honor. What stays too long inundating us with its presence makes us disdain it, right? At the start of an affair, you need to heighten your presence in the eyes of the other, right? If you absent yourself too early, you may be forgotten, right? So it is very important for you to understand that when you establish a relationship with whoever, you should be truly intentional about heightening your focus, about just being fully present in that relationship, right? While you away, the lover's imagination takes flight, and a stimulated imagination cannot help but make love grow stronger, right? Because now they miss you, they need you, they actually want you back, right? So he says that a strong presence will draw your power and attention to you. You shine more brightly than those around you. But a point is inevitably reached when too much presence creates the opposite effect. The more you are seen and heard from, the more your value degrades. You become a habit. So at some point, we don't really respect you because now we think you're just nagging. We are digger. We're just this nagging presence before us, and we don't really have a reason therefore to respect you, because you seem to be more of an attention seeker if you get to that point, right? So but once you die, everything about you will seem different. You will be surrounded by an instant aura of respect. People will remember their criticisms of you, their arguments with you, and will be filled with regret and guilt. They are missing a presence that will never return. That this is just a fact. I think this guy has studied nature at a deeper level, because this is a fact. When someone does die, we just miss that strong presence from that person. And when we cry, we'll do all these sort of things. When we're just mourning, we're actually missing a presence that will never return. It's just a fact that there is this level of just honor and respect in absence itself. This is just a powerful strategy for anyone who does want to be respected and want to be honored in one way or another, to just be more intentional of how you present yourself, and also just this ability to use absence to increase respect. Because if we will respect you, because you're not this demand, this attention seeking type of person, so therefore you deserve our respect in one way or another, right? So he says that the sun, it can only be appreciated by its absence. The longer the days of rain, the more the sun is craved, but too many hot days and the sun overwhelms. Learn to keep yourself obscure and make people demand your return. This is such a powerful strategy to live. You need to be truly intentional about really living a life in which you're more intentional about your absence and your presence, so that you could just heighten other people's focus on you, to understand that you are treasure, and they should be appreciating you, instead of really thinking that you're this attention seeking type of person. You're just this nagging type of person instead, right? So he says that make yourself less accessible and you increase the value of your presence, right? So when you increase the value of your presence, where you are easily where you are not easily accessible, therefore you become this force, you become this powerful aura, you become this powerful person who deserves honor and respect in that particular space, because you're not really all over, right? So the reversal of this, he says that this law only applies once a certain level of power has been attained, right? The need to withdraw only comes after you have established your presence. Leave too early and you do not increase your respect, you are simply forgotten, right? So in any kind of relationship, in any given setting, just be truly intentional about heightening your presence at first, and then at some point you just live to be this just have this scarcity around you, where you're just not easily found, you're just not all over, because at the end of the day people will miss your presence, they will understand how important you are, they will literally miss your presence, because really you're not all over, you are just not easily accessible, right? So with this, I also think of these powerful brains, these exclusive brains, your Gucci and your whatever. They're just not all over, and yet at the end of the day, they are truly powerful. They're just exclusive, and they're just the most beautiful, talked about. There's just so much honor and so much respect on such brains. It could be cars or whatever, Lamborghini or whatever, and simply because they're just not all over. You can't just randomly find them in any given space, right? So there is just so much honor in using absence and just scarcity as a phenomenon, right? Law number 17 says that keep others in suspended terror. Cultivate an air of unpredictability. This is definitely my favorite law, right? I like to think that I don't like people to be predictable of me, right? For them to think Norma will do this. No, I don't like that, right? I like creating this aura of just unpredictability, where I could just randomly keep quiet and be still when you thought I could be ravishing and doing all these crazy nonsense. I'm just that person. I'm just truly intentional about creating an aura, an air of unpredictability. And it's such a beautiful way to live, because we always surprise people at any given instance, right? So he says that your predictability gives them a sense of control, right? Be deliberately unpredictable. Behavior that seems to have no consistency or purpose will keep them off balance, and they will wear themselves out trying to explain your moves. Taken to an extreme, this strategy can intimidate and terrorize. This is a fact. So if you can create an aura of unpredictability, one way or another, other people, they might think you've taken it too far, and you just have this intimidating and terrorizing presence in one way or another, right? So if you take this to an extreme, right, that's what will happen, right? He says that only man has the capacity to consciously alter his behavior, to improvise and overcome the weight of routine and habit. Yet most men do not realize this power. They prefer the comforts of routine, the comforts of what people think of themselves, to stick on that box. They just simply like to be boxed, and I don't think that is such a beautiful way to live. You should be able to just fully create this aura of unpredictability, either to yourself and also to those around you, so that you could just fully experience your different versions of yourself at whatever given time, right? So he says that, understand, a person of power instills a kind of fear by deliberately unsettling those around him to keep the initiative on his side. This is a very powerful strategy, and you can't do this if you want to create this powerful or beautiful face value to other people. If you're not ready to create this air of unpredictability, you can't get to this point, right, where you could just instill a kind of fear, deliberately unsettling those around him, just to keep the initiative, just to make sure that things get down your way in one way or another. It is such a powerful and a beautiful way to live, because you keep your initiative, you preserve your power in that pursuit, right? So he says that too much, this is a reversal, right? He says that too much unpredictability will be seen as a sign of indecisiveness, or even of some more serious psychic problems. Patterns are powerful, and you can terrify people by disrupting them. Such power should only be used judiciously, right? So this ability to create an air of unpredictability should be used consciously, right? Cautiously, yes. Because now, if you take it too far, people will think you are shy, right? And there are people, yes, in my life who at some point might think I'm this crazy type of person, but I know what it is, what I want them to think about me, right? I don't want them to be predictive of me, to have to box myself, to box me in their minds. They should know that I'm this unpredictable type of person, and at any given instance I could behave differently. I am allowed to do that because I am human. I govern myself, right? And it is such a beautiful way for you to understand that if you take it to an extreme, it can be very problematic. People will think you have a very serious challenge and you need help. You just, it's either you're struggling with ADHD, or you're struggling with bipolar, or whatever it is. They will think you have a very serious problem, but you should just be more intentional and more strategic with it in any pursuit towards something like that goes to this, right? Number 18 says that do not build fortresses to protect yourself. Isolation is dangerous, right? So this is a fact that you can't all be by yourself wherever, or most of your time, all the time. But you need people, you need allies to live with, right? You need allies to just mingle with in life. You can't be by yourself. You will struggle tremendously, right? Better to circulate among people, find allies, mingle. You are shielded from your enemies by the crowd, right? You become safer. You can become safer from loneliness by being more intentional about finding the right allies to mingle with. so that you could just be more at grace, and just be more at ease by yourself with such allies, right? So he says that the more you are in contact with others, the more graceful and at ease you become. Having other people around us, it is such a beautiful thing to live. And when you have the right people, people who understand you better, it is such a truly heartwarming kind of feeling. It gives you a sense of belonging. So it is such a beautiful way to live, really. So you need other people, you need allies to mingle with, you need the right friends, you need people who understand the long-term effect and everything around yourself, right? So it is very important for you to be truly intentional about really not living by yourself as a person, but to understand that you need other people, you need people to mingle with, so that you could just experience this joy towards life, towards existence itself. Just be truly intentional of what kind of allies you want to mingle with, right? Because you don't want to find people who belong in another alley, in a different alley, who don't really resonate with yourself, who don't really resonate with your values and everything that you truly believe and advocate for as a person. As a reversal, he says that the weight of society's pressure to conform and the lack of distance from other people can make it impossible to think clearly about what is going on around you, right? So it is very important that in your pursuit to really trying to mingle and make good friends, but you're just more intentional of what position you want to be in, right? As a person, you want to be truly intentional about building your life, a life of balance between spending more time with yourself and just spending time as well with other people. This is a very important thing, because when you are by yourself, you will be able to think clearly and just be more creative about the things you want to do as a person, and you're just highly conscious of what it is that is around you, right? But therefore, what he tries to say here is that don't have so much pressure to try to confirm and just always belong and whatever, right? Or try to fit in where it's just unnecessary, but have this balance of really understanding that you need time to be by yourself, spend time with yourself, so that you could just be more creative and just do things that you're supposed to be doing. But at the same time, you need to understand that you need the right allies to mingle with and just pursue life in a truly powerful manner, because you don't really force in to conform by societal standards. You understand your position as a person, and you're fully firm in whatever it is that you're truly busy with. You're just truly fully firm in everything that it is that you're doing. So number 19 says that know who you are dealing with. Do not offend the wrong person, right? Deceive or outmaneuver some people, and they will spend the rest of their lives seeking revenge, right? Choose your victims and opponents carefully. Then never offend or deceive the wrong person, right? It is truly very important for you to be more intentional about understanding the fact that you can't be trying to offend quite a lot of people. You should be more intentional of understanding that people are different, right? And once you offend the wrong person, they will haunt you the rest of their lives, and they will make sure that you're not at peace simply because you've offended the wrong person. There's quite a lot of us Bauratadi jokes, steady snacks, and doing quite a lot of things, and other people will just give you a hard time simply because you made them unsettled, right? So it is very important for you to be truly intentional of how you choose your opponents, right? Because other people are really crazy. Other people are truly mad, and they will haunt you, and they will make you pay for your stupidity. So you should just be more intentional about really never offend the wrong people in life, and just have this intent of really offering your highest degree, your highest level of respect to other people, so that you don't really get to a point where you offend the wrong person and now you have to pay the rest of your life simply because of stupidity or just a minor mistake. And that's a fact, right? And other people can take things to a very big extreme if you offend them or you make them feel unsettled in one way or another, right? So he says that never assume that the person you are dealing with is weaker or less important than you are. Hey. Some men are slow to take offense, which may make you misjudge the thickness of their skin and fail to worry about insulting them, right? Hey. But should you offend their honor and their pride, they will overwhelm you with a violence that seems sudden and extreme given their slowness to anger, right? So this is a very powerful technique, and I wish all of us could just learn this trick of understanding that we should be truly intentional about people we offend, right? About this, we were trying to just cracking unnecessary jokes because other people, they are really not up to such things, and do that to them and you will pay. You will pay for your stupidity. You will pay for your lack of of respect towards them, because now you dishonor them and you dishonor their pride, right? And they will deal with you. They will exhaust all their means. They will exhaust themselves trying to make sure that you understand that it is very important for all of us to just deserve that we deserve respect as people. So it is very important for you to be truly intentional on the kind of people you might be offending as a person, right? So be warned, if you practice deception or trickery of any sort, study your mark well, right? Study that person well. Just be more intentional and just know that you're sure that you know that person before you do anything, right? Some people's insecurity and ego fragility cannot tolerate the slightest offense. This is me, right? And I think this is just and I was there was this point I tried to figure out, is it because I'm easily offended, or it's just my ego? And I realized that it's just ego. It is just ego. Or no, I don't appreciate someone who talks to me like this. So, and therefore, if you talk to me like this, I will teach you better how to talk to me, right? So it is such a powerful thing for all of us to understand that we should just be more intentional about studying the other person and know how they want to relate, how we want us to relate to them better. Because some people's insecurity and ego fragility cannot tolerate the slightest offense. We just can't. We hate nasty jokes. We don't want anything that is just full of jokes unnecessarily or unreasonably so. We don't have a reason for such things, right? So he says that there is nothing to be gained by insulting a person unnecessarily, right? Swallow the impulse to offend, even if the other person seems weak, right? The satisfaction is meager compared to the danger that someday he or she will be in a position to hurt you, right? So it is very important for us to be truly intentional about studying the other person very well. Make sure that whatever jokes that you're used to be saying to other person, before you say this joke to this person, how will this person react from that? How will this person react from such? Because you don't want to be offending the wrong person, and now you have to pay for trauma. At the end of the day, you might even be depressed simply because you've insulted or you just humiliated the wrong person. So it is very important for all of us to just learn these things and just be more strategic in them, so that we just avoid quite a lot of things. So he says, Robert Greene says that the satisfaction is meager. Okay, he says that swallow the impulse to offend, even if the other person seems weak. There's other people who really have this intention of undermining, just looking down upon other people, and I struggle to figure out why. So he says that The satisfaction is meager compared to the danger that someday he or she will be in a position to hurt you. So you should just be more and truly intentional about giving respect to the other person. And when that person gets to a point maybe they disrespect you, that's when maybe you might have to deal with them, but not out of the blue, out of the space, and you try to decide to insult the other person. That is just disgrace. And we should be truly intentional on how we engage with other people, so that we avoid quite a lot of things we might end up struggling with if we can't really possess and just portray respect towards other people, right? So he says that the ability to measure people and to know who you are dealing with is the most important skill of all in gathering and conserving power, right? Without it, you are blind. Not only will you offend the wrong people, you will choose the wrong types to work on, and will think you are flattering people when you are actually insulting them. Power is strategy. You need strategy to live, right? So this is one of the trick as well. So he says that learn to see through appearances and their contradictions, right? Never trust the version that people give of themselves. It is utterly unreliable, right? So he says that you look at the person, and there are people who could just be saying this, and they actually mean something else. So you should just be more intentional about studying the person at a bigger level, so that you understand better. Because there's are people really. This conversation I was watching about Penwell and this guy from the White podcast. So this guy, he tries. Penwell asks something about him. Are you not offended by this? He says, the guy says no, but still, in the manner he converse, he shows that he's actually he's just actually just offended by this, right? But he just never admits that he is offended. But how he talks, how he just portrays himself in that conversation, he shows that he's just actually offended. So we should be truly intentional about really studying the other person. This person may say this, but they actually mean the opposite. And we should be able, as someone who does want to conserve power, to understand when to see through such things. Because I think Penwell was able to see in that conversation that this guy is offended by this, but hardly admits to that, right? So it is such a powerful strategy to be able to understand how to preserve and just defend yourself against power itself, right? So let's go to the next law. Law number 20 says that do not commit to anyone, right? It is the fool who always rushes to take sides. Do not commit to any side or cause but yourself. By maintaining your independence, you become the master of others, playing people against one another, making them pursue you, right? So he says that Elizabeth learned the lesson well. She had two goals as ruler: to avoid marriage and to avoid war, right? So he makes examples of the ancient queens, especially from the Western culture, right? So Queen Elizabeth was a woman who just avoided marriage and war, simply because he understood such things, they might just terrorize the entire country, right? He says that through his lifelong game of flirting and withdrawing, Elizabeth dominated the country, and every man who sought to conquer her as the center of attention, she was in control. Keeping her independence above all, Elizabeth protected her power and herself, and made herself an object of worship. So if she would have accepted and wanted to have gotten married, it means that Queen Elizabeth wouldn't have been this truly powerful queen from the ancient times as we know it today, because marriage would have gotten to a point where at some point there would be war. So she was truly intentional about avoiding that, right? So You instantly seem powerful because you make yourself ungraspable rather than succumbing to the group or to the relationship as most people do. So Queen Elizabeth the first, I guess, she literally avoided marriage. She would just be flirting with all these men without necessarily allowing herself to be truly married by one of them in one way or another. I think she was truly just really smart in one way or another, because that's just how women are, and they're just truly strategic and just manipulative in anything that they want, and they could just be more intentional about being more strategic on how to finally attain whatever it is that they want. So she truly became one of the best rulers in the ancient history till today, right? So to perfect this tactic, you need to keep yourself inwardly free from emotional entanglements and to view those around you as pawns in your rise to the top, right? So it is very important for you to be more intentional about not really committing to anything, but to just be flirting in whatever, so that so that to the other person you seem promising, but actually you're not even there, right? So he says that above all, keep yourself free of commitments and obligations. They are the device of another to get you in his power, right? So this is such a powerful law indeed, and it is very important for us to understand that in whatever it is that you choose to commit in, it has to come from the deep soul of yourself, and at the end of the day you understand the consequences. But the best strategy is to just do not commit, right? So he says that to succeed in the game of power, you have to master your emotions, right? You need to be truly intentional about understanding and working out on your emotions, right? So he says that preserving your autonomy gives you options when people come to blows. You can play the mediator, broker the peace, while really recurring your own interests at the end of the day, right? So he says that every moment wasted on the affairs of others subtracts from your energy. You may be afraid that people will condemn you as heartless, but in the end, maintaining your independence and self-reliance will gain you more respect and place you in a position of power from which you can choose to help others on your own initiative by deciding for yourself at the end of the day, right? So it is very important for us to be more intentional of really so much the amount of energy we use in the affairs of others, right? Because we don't want to be wasting our energy kwindaba zabantu or just trying to resolve matters which don't really give us so much initiative or so much power, but just by the ability to preserve our power and just be self-reliant and just be more intentional of how the kind of opinion we share to the other person. It just portrays us as really these people who just could just remain in that position of power, and we can portray ourselves better by seemingly to be truly someone who has kept their initiative and they've kept their power, right? So this is a reversal, right? So both parts of this law turn against you if you take it too far, because at the end of the day, you don't want to be seen to be more of a hypocrite in any pursuit, right? You should be truly intentional of how you navigate the entire situation of trying to resolve other people's affairs, because at the end of the day, you don't want to be more like a hypocrite, and you don't necessarily have to take it too far, because that's when it's going to be more problematic, right? So from myself, Noma Tamsangamjazi, I truly and deeply thank you for joining me in this beautiful conversation. And I hope that going forward, you understand that it is very important for you to keep your initiative, to preserve your power, to understand how to protect yourself against power itself, so that you could just be more of a better friend, a better lover, a better husband, and just a better version of yourself. So I truly and deeply thank you for joining me in this beautiful conversation. I hope that going forward, you're just truly intentional in all your pursuits towards power itself. You understand how to leverage it and just get the most out of life itself. So please, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do make sure that you subscribe, you hit the notification bell, and you just like, you comment, and just engage in all our conversations. I truly and deeply thank you for joining me in this beautiful conversation. Thank you so much.